Hello, everybody. So, let's talk a little bit about student loan forgiveness and where things are heading. So, if you've been following this, like many of us have that have student loans, you know that the Supreme Court decided to strike down the student loan forgiveness plan that the Biden administration had put forward. Um, and it honestly is a ridiculous thing. Um, it's very telling of the powers that be and the generational gap, actually. And I don't like generalizations, but um, boomers are definitely the ones with the reins of power. And for a generation that are already not only parents and grandparents, but in many cases great grandparents, and always say that they want the best for their children, their actions say otherwise. Um, it's easy for them to complain about older children living with them and make all kinds of excuses. No, it's their spending, it's their, I've even heard ridiculous things like, oh, it's the avocado toast, and it's the matcha teas, and it's the sustainable coffee, and they don't save. It is very difficult to explain to somebody that came to be in the 70s, the 80s, when the stock market was booming, when economy was booming, when everybody was playing fast and loose, making a lot of money, and it was a consumer market with very cheap prices. A lot of you got your homes, a 4 bedroom home with 2 bathrooms and a garage and half an acre of land for sometimes less than $80,000. Many times, not sometimes, many times for under that. That is not the reality that Gen X and millennials and Gen Zs are living in. We are not making, for example, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and the house market right now for a bungalow of 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom is over $200,000. So I get that your generation is still stuck on stupid on those years in the 80s where you know you could buy 2 fridges, 1 freezer, you can put an in-ground pool, and your $50,000, $60,000 a year was plenty, and you were able to even have a savings account and whatever. Nowadays, that is not the reality. And if you really wanted to do something for your children and your grandkids and future generations and help further our independence, you would have supported student loan forgiveness, because for a lot of us that are not even middle class, even making $26 an hour, we can't save any money. A lot of us cannot afford a rent, never mind a house. And yeah, a savings account is a bucket list item. And it's sad that you guys can't understand that. But in my case, for example, my student loan would free me in a way that would put my credit score at a point where I could actually probably start working towards buying a condo or a small house or something like that. And I know millions of Americans that apply for the student loan forgiveness did it in that light. It's not that we are not hardworking. We actually work harder than your generation did. Your generation didn't really, you know, I know you pride yourselves on pulling yourself by the bootstraps, but most of you had bankers hours, 9 to 5, no weekends, plenty of vacation time. You didn't have to pick up overtime unless you were really, really poor in that category. A lot of us need more than one job to still live paycheck to paycheck. And you guys need to start realizing that. Your generation and the younger generations to actually stand up to you and start taking power and ownership and furthering our cause and moving this country to a more progressive state. Um, I always say it, conservative, it's such a ridiculous oxymoron position to want to take because it means you're fine with the status quo. And anything that's stagnant does not evolve, does not progress, does not get better. Anything that's stagnant in nature actually rots and gets worse. So if you're one of those conservatives, you might want to think about that. I know you get swayed by the propaganda and the family values, the nuclear family, the religion. It's time to wake up and smell the coffee. That's not the world that we live in, and it's not the world that's gonna keep coming forward. So for those of you that are younger, um, you need to start making some noise. um, the Biden administration can actually use executive power and say student debt is canceled, period. And that would probably win you the next election. Just that item will probably win you the next election because you're looking at millennials and Gen Zs that are getting way more involved in politics and getting ready to vote, and that is a big ticket item for them. So I think we need to start putting pressure on the current administration and sort of like encourage them to move away from mean tested programs to actually taking action, regardless of popularity. I think one of the reasons Biden and the administration are a little maybe hesitant to just use executive power and cancel student debt is has to do with age, has to do with old values and some crazy moral that, you know, you're not good enough if you can't pay your debt. And most of us are more than willing to pay our debts, but we do not have the economic means in this current economic climate to do so. And it's sad that you can't understand and empathize with that and sort of like make the right choice. And that's happening with a lot of different other issues. But I just wanted this video to be concentrated on that, on student debt loan forgiveness, and what I humbly feel needs to happen on either side of the spectrum. The people in power and older generations need to be a little bit more empathetic and compassionate and realistic, and younger ones need to be more engaged, more active, and louder, and start standing up to these ridiculous notions, old notions that are not rooted in today's reality. Anyhow, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be talking.